welcome one of ISITE's founders, Jeff Cranor.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome up my panel. And we put this session together and we invited Steve out. I've spoken at a lot of conferences. I've never followed the world's greatest art joke. So this is a first, but great to have you all here. Thank you for coming and welcome to the afternoon of our conference. So when we put together the session in this whole conference, one of the questions we kept asking ourselves is, what does it take to build great experiences? And we looked at that and we said, well, how do we build great experiences? So we thought we'd put together a panel. Because it's Delight, we couldn't call it a panel, so we're calling it a rumble. These are all very nice people. We don't fight in the office, but we'll try to poke them a little bit and see if we can find any tension. But the idea of this rumble is that we're going to look at how these experiences get built and what the different perspectives are from the different roles on the team. And knowing who registered for this conference and all of you in attendance, all of you represent very different roles in bringing experiences to life, whether you're on the business side, thinking about marketing, whether you're actually have your hands in the code and are developing, whether you're a user experience designer. All of these roles come together to create what you see on the screen and the interactions we have. And they're not always harmonious. So we're going to explore that a little bit. And then we're going to involve all of you in a live test. So we're actually going to create a live A/B test looking at a specific page and see how that can work using crowdsourced feedback. So be thinking as we talk what makes great experiences. So, need my clicker. In thinking about all the different roles, I thought back to when Paul and I first started the company and what the state of web development actually was back in 1997. And it basically was Paul and I in a room, and there was this job title back then called the webmaster. And this title actually still does exist in a technical role oftentimes, but this idea of a webmaster was a single person inside the organization that was responsible for everything that happened on the web. And they had to be a jack of all trades. They had to keep up on all this emerging technology. They often were the one doing the laborious work of putting up content, editing code. And what happened is as the web emerged and as the digital discipline emerged, this became harder and harder to keep up. This wasn't one person's task, but this idea of the webmaster is still stuck in our kind of lexicon from 1998. And I remember when we first started, it was Paul and I. He'd spend the mornings looking at dialing for dollars, going down the yellow pages and dialing 100 companies in the morning. And then we sell a few websites, and I would be our creative director, I would be our developer. And this was back in the day when there was no CSS, it was all HTML. And we coded HTML by hand, of course, because we were one of the good shops. But I had mastered the 1x1 spacer pixel. So any layout you needed, I could make happen. And then we figured out, this is not good enough. The discipline started to emerge. I was a really crappy creative director, and we started to hire people that actually knew what happened. And this idea of a webmaster really became a thing of the past. And it's getting more and more complicated, right? When you look at the roles, that we have on a web team today, they're very specialized. And when we look at how we staff our own agency team, it's increasingly specialized. But when we look at what it takes to bring great experiences to life, all of these people need to work together. And very few companies have the luxury of having a web team of 15 to 20 people. Oftentimes, that's why you hire an agency. We don't even have all these roles as standalone roles. But when we bring the team to bear to talk about how to make these things happen, we're looking at most of these disciplines as they mix up. So, for our Rumble, we've got 3 of these roles, and they blend a little bit on the screen, but I want to do a little bit of introduction. So this session's in 2 parts. The first part, we're actually going to have each of the folks on the panel kind of talk about their role through the lens of an actual website. So we've asked them to pick a website that they like for one reason or another that represents something to their discipline, and we're going to talk about it. It doesn't mean all the panelists will like it. In fact, some of them may hate it. It doesn't mean all of you will like it. It doesn't mean it's even a good example of a website in general, but it represents a discipline on this honeycomb of what it takes to build great experiences. So let's run down the list, and then we'll let them talk for a little bit. First up is Barbara Holmes, the architect. Barbara is our Director of User Experience here in Portland. She runs a team of information architects content strategists, and folks that genuinely care about usability, user research, and bringing great experiences to life. She works a lot on very complex problems to make them very simple. It's an incredibly valuable role, and she does a great job. Patrick, who has the cutest kid I've ever seen besides my own.
That's a plug for the next speaker, by the way.
Patrick is our creative director, so he's representing the designer persona. He runs a team of visual designers, folks that think about brand, folks that think about how typography and what you see on the screen and on the small screen come together. And Amanda, the marketer, on the business side. Amanda's part of a team at ISITE that focuses on data-driven optimization. She's thinking about online marketing, search engine optimization, how to make these experiences work for the business. How do they actually perform? So Amanda's going to be a really good counterbalance, I think, to Patrick and Barb on this panel, because she really wants to make sure whatever we create, it actually is tied to revenue and it connects to the business. So I'm going to let them each come up, or stay at the seat, whatever's comfortable, and they'll talk about the role a little bit more, and bring up an example website. And after all that's done, we're actually going to deconstruct the website together, a web page, and we're going to vote, and we're going to rebuild it together, and we're actually going to put it to a test. So, let's go. You're up, Barb.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. So, as Jeff said, my role is directing user experience. In this session, I'm the architect. And so by architect, that's really the planner and the big picture and the vision. So it's a little bit of business analyst, a little bit of marketing goals. It's a lot of user research and market research. It's trying to plan and shape an experience or a website that is going to appeal to the target audience, fulfill some business needs, and move the brand forward. So the site that I wanted to show is the Milwaukee Police News site. I'm not sure if any of you have seen this. It is making the rounds in the design world now. And what's really interesting about this site, I'm a walker and a talker, sorry, is that it transforms a community's police department into a video game. Or maybe your reality show that's going to be on TV on Thursday night at 9. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant, because how many government, state, or federal, city government offices look like this and draw you in like this? This is a parallax scrolling site, which is very cutting edge. New design parameters, the sense that everything you need is in one place. The visual imagery is very rich, it's very immersive. It makes this police department as much, their staff are heroes. These are local heroes. So I felt like it's a PR site, it's a news site. So I thought it was a great example of really being on target and on brand and transforming the kind of action hero that we see in video games and in the movies to your neighbor down the street who actually works on the police force. And so I thought it was a really good example for that. And I know that Patrick and Amanda are going to poke at me for this.
Well, first of all, I really like this site from a design standpoint. It's organized really well. It's very dynamic. It's very impactful. It does look like CSI Miami. I keep waiting for them to come up with some new technology that actually doesn't exist, but then use it in the website and enhance zoom, and then all of a sudden you can read what this little tiny camera caught on pixels here. But part of it for me was not the design styles and things like that, but the ethics of advertising. I don't know. Thinking about how that sites like this kind of glorify a really serious, dangerous job, and using sort of game sort of styles to entice kids who are into games and things like that. I worry about some of like the Army who does a little bit of that. But bringing in like, how many people want to go to Milwaukee now? Not that many, probably, because it's this battlefield Earth post-apocalyptic. Like there's no grass anywhere. Like
Destination for the video gamers.
I mean, like if you scroll down to where they're like all lined up, all of them are lined up. There's this like background that looks like a bomb went off, and all the buildings are all the dirt is like just corroded and it looks like broken cement and all this, and everything's kind of designed to make them look tough and heroic, but I mean,
It looks too scary.
I'm not going to visit Milwaukee after this.
Well, and I think the site looks great as well, but I really question how well the site performs, because if you look at the area of content where they're updating the most frequently with their news, it's a really odd way of kind of navigating through that experience. You have to click on the story, it pops up a window, but there's no ability to deep link to any of the content that they have here. So, yeah, if you want to click on one of those links, I'll show you what happens. So they give you the option,
Scroll down a little bit.
Yeah, if you scroll down a little bit.
Yeah.
So they just say link to this article, but when you open that, it's something that pops up that you have to copy and paste, and then you have to paste it to wherever you're trying to link to if you wanted to share it out or something like that. And then what's really weird, that really bothers me about it from a measurement perspective, is that what the link that deep links to the actual article just redirects you to the main URL for the website. So it'll pop you out to the content that you were trying to get to, but it's a nightmare from, the perspective of trying to look at your analytics and understand which of these stories are people most interested in, and how many people are sharing them out and how many people are linking to these, which also has an impact on search engine performance. So again, on the continue on the search engine side, I have a major problem too with the way that they've done the parallax scrolling here. It's really cool and it looks nice, but if you watch the URL, it just keeps changing as it goes down the page, but if you look at the code, all of the content is there. So basically they have duplicated this content across every single URL that they have, which is a major no-no for search.
How many folks in the audience like what they see here? Good site? Few people. Okay, well let's keep moving. So Patrick's.
So one of the sites that I picked was Fast Company's design blogs. In a world where it seems like blog templates are very common and all blogs kind of look alike, I really enjoyed what Fast Company's doing. So the first thing I really like about Fast Company's design blog is just the content. I mean, they're writing articles deeply about design on all different levels, and they're uplifting visuals first and foremost. So if you actually click on an article, so this is their main landing page, but click in on one of the pictures. So they're leading with visuals. So everything they're talking about is something visual, and they're really leading with this first and foremost, and then getting you right to the content. So you're putting a kind of a museum-like experience, being able to watch everything and get through everything that you're looking at, and then read about the article after that.
Well, I think it's cool, but I mean, what do they want me to do when I get here? As soon as I land on the page, all I see is some really cool imagery, but it's kind of confusing, and there's a lot going on here with all of the images, and when you look at some of the ways that they're trying to get people to engage with the content, it's a little strange. Like, if you stop right there, they have these share icons that look cool from a design perspective, but they're not standard of what somebody would normally be looking for, especially that being where you look for comments. That, to me, does not say anything about comments. And then if you scroll to the bottom of the page, they use some inconsistent language too, where at the top they're calling them comments. When you get down to the bottom of the page, they call them notes, not comments. So it's just kind of a little bit confusing as far as, from people trying to engage with the content and share it out, and here they say it in notes, type your comment here, but it's a little inconsistent with what they're trying to communicate.
And I think from the architect kind of standpoint, I do like this site, but I would agree. I think the non-standard icons for the social media, it seems like designed for design's sake. But
Designers like black.
they like black. But the other thing I really have a trouble with on this site is that all of the advertising on the sideboards is just as compelling and just as big and just as prominent. So visually I get lost. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to go or what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah,
What's the difference between the ad and the next blog post? They all blend together.
The hierarchy of information is a little off.
Is off. It's a little bit off. But certainly it does have big pictures. I know you like big pictures. Anybody in the audience like this site? Know the site? Quite a few people?
It's like double the people that your site.
We'll see how many people like me.
All right, well, let's keep it moving. Amanda, what do you got for us?
All right, well, I am a data lover at heart as a marketer, so I'm always interested in communicating with the right audience, but using data to really inform strategies and do testing and data analysis to really refine those experiences over time, and really focusing on ROI, but also giving a good experience for the users. So I really love this site. This is Forrester. If you're not familiar with them, they've been around for a long time. They have tons of content on their site, and this is a relatively new design and sort of approach that they've taken with their website, where they have really taken the idea of self-selecting your personal experience on their site to kind of about as far as you can take it. And I really like that they're, really trying to segment out their audience, and they're trying to direct people right to the information that they think is most relevant based on your profession.
Well, it makes total sense, because that silhouette over there are totally marketing strategy professionals, while these silhouettes over here are totally IT, because you can't move them around and change them, because otherwise...
I know I see myself in there. I am going to push on that this example of personalization is a good thing. I'm not sure that I agree with that, because this is a research site, and one of the great beauties of research is the lateral thinking and the lateral jumps you make as you're researching one thing and something else catches your eye, and it lets you set connections. And when you force people to pick a channel and you go down that water slide, you lose that. You lose the ability to draw from the broad experience of all of Forrester's research. And I don't think that this is successful.
That's true, but they are allowing people to go straight to the content that is most likely to be relevant to what they're looking for, and not having to
use criteria.
I'm not even sure whether I think the technology industry professional.
I'm a person first, data second.
I'm one of those two on the right. I don't know which one, but
I think if you click into one of these, the other thing that kind of bugs me about the personalization strategy on this one is...
I did say they take it really far.
They did take it really far. Oh, it's not showing up. I think you have to click into a category. If you choose a profession, you'll suddenly, choose the customer experience person there.
Well, and all CMO and marketing people look like that, and all experience professionals.
Yeah.
Just like that.
how many people like these business stocks?
So I know that I'm a customer experience professional, but the last time I looked in the mirror, I did not look like that.
I should add that we strive to have a very positive relationship for it.
No, we do.
None of the opinions represent
We do love Forrester.
that of the agency.
But this is a case where, for me, from the architect and user experience point of view, I feel like they're pushing it a little too far, and that the actual content and the research that they have should be what's front and center about trends and what matters to professionals, rather than leading with the role first.
Yeah, if you could click into one of these, it's interesting because they have the kind of very clean design metaphor. They're very sharp, crisp lines, and then they kind of forget about that as they make this really giant, annoying Web 2.0 bottom navigation thing that is all beveled on top of something that we really wish had a better grid.
Can you go back to and select your role? So I want to show you what happens once you select your role, which I should mention, you only do this the first time you visit the site. You don't do this every single time you come through the site, because admittedly, it's a little time-consuming. So if you click on Make This My Role, then it takes you into the site. And now everything that you're seeing is personalized to your role that you've designated for yourself. So it's a really great example of using data for audience segmentation, and then the output of that being the ability to really personalize content for each different segment that you've identified.
Well, that makes sense because we picked interactive marketing professional, and that's us right there.
Yeah, that's what we're.
I find interesting about the site is that most sites have the big global navigation on top with all the formal sections that kind of orients you. They've actually gone with almost a completely search-driven and contextual interface, and they don't wrap kind of the standard bar around the top on the left that has kind of navigation, sub-navigation. I'm just wondering how that actually performs, or if it's easier for users.
Yeah, I think that's a good question, but I do appreciate that they have a really good, strong call to action towards the top. What do you need to do to succeed? And so when you click on one of those areas, you're literally one click away from being able to purchase a maybe $500 research report, which is ultimately what they're trying to get you to do, is to buy a report or register for a webinar or something like that. So they've done a really good job of just giving people a really direct path to what the action that they want people to take on the website. And they're also using other means to kind of direct people to the right content by using ratings and comments and things like that, which I feel are really valuable when you're looking at buying, say a $500 research report. If it has feedback from other people in your industry or a rating system, then that can really help you if you're deciding between a couple of reports that seem similar or that seem like they might be valuable, which one you want to purchase. But I know Barbara has a.
Yeah, I don't like the ratings on this site. I think it's not matched with the intent of the site. I know that their goal is to sell research reports, but people looking for research need a more neutral, authoritative kind of bent. And I just think the random ratings and random comments don't add to that. They don't add the relevance for me. I think I'm old school in that regard.
Perhaps if they put like another silhouette at the bottom, like every
Maybe.
time somebody
Maybe
downloads
if
it,
I
you get
knew
another silhouette.
if I knew who the people were and I thought I knew enough about them, that they lent authority, maybe. But most of the comments and ratings are kind of anonymous. And I don't know. I just started thinking about Amazon.com and how the ratings functionality there has become this kind of micro-fiction, sort of fun creative writing exercise for people.
I just
So
imagine.
that's what I anticipate. I just envision that happening to Forrester, and I think that would dilute the brand.
I just imagine some of the smart cultures that are kind of, using this research and creating great things from it. And then, I don't, not too many people that I work with, that's their kind of everyday look that they kind of go through. So.
Well, I agree that the role is a little bit too prominent here. Like, once you've selected your role, do you really need to be reminded that, that's who you are and what you don't look like?
That woman is she's holding a binder full of men.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
On that note, so I think what's interesting about this conversation, come on, moderator, pull it back together. I think what's interesting about this conversation is that it's not that these websites are good or bad. It's that we bring these different viewpoints to our work, and that when an agency is working with a client or you're working with your internal team, there's all these different viewpoints that come into making these great experiences. I think two of the things that we use to kind of help balance some of the internal feedback or questions that we have are, one, user research. So I know a lot of you are probably doing this. We're doing a lot of voice of the customer, talking to users, figuring out how they behave, what they like, what they're expecting from a relationship with a website or a company. And the second is data, and looking at actually what happens when you put an experience out there and how people are using it. So we'd like to transition to the next part of this discussion, and this is where we need all of your help. This is the Rumble part of it. And I know Patrick is a big WWF wrestling fan and has action figures of Hulk Hogan. And
Claim to fame, I worked on a website for Roddy Piper, so that was...
And fun fact, he found us in the phone book.
This is
so
true.
Wrestlers do not use the internet. Okay, here's what we're going to do here. We've been lucky enough, one of our clients, Go Hawaii. So in the spirit of delight, let's transport yourselves to the tropical islands of Hawaii. We're fortunate to work with the Hawaii Tourism Bureau, HBCB. They manage the website, the official tourism website for the state of Hawaii. We do kind of ongoing optimization and data-driven work for them. They were fortunate enough to let us use them as an example in this session and actually conduct and start, we'll start a live test with them. They still would like to review what you all come up with, but we're actually going to set up the test and get it going. And we want to use this exercise to really look at how you start to think about optimizing these experiences. And what's interesting is, when you think of a site like Hawaii, or you think of a site like the site you manage, all these different touch points and all these different pages are points in the experience that your customers interact with. And you may think of them as web pages or the mobile channel or the website, but the reality is the user's coming for a very specific reason and has either a good interaction or a bad interaction that will contribute potentially significantly to your business. And being able to measure and improve these experiences is important. So one of the things we did a few years ago with our agency is we created this group called Day 2. And Day 2 is more of a point of view than a business unit. But in Day 2, it's all about what happens after you launch. Because we spend all this effort working and building sites. And what typically happens when you launch is that all the people, the consultants go away, the people internally go on to the next project, and you have this website that's built. It isn't really being actively managed or actively looked at. And the reality is all the really interesting stuff you can do and all the insight you can get actually comes on Day 2 after you launch. So what we did with the Hawaii site is we looked at the site and we picked out a specific page on the site that represents a transactional interaction. Unfortunately, they don't do online bookings, so they have it's a beautiful brand-driven site that will make you wish you were somewhere else rather than here. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at their My Hawaii planner. So the goal of My Hawaii is for the folks that are really serious about planning a trip, the GoHawaii.com site has a database of locations and resorts and things you can do. So if you're planning your trip, you can actually log on, create an account, start saving the places that you want to go to. And it's kind of the start of a more serious relationship with the visitor, as opposed from someone just fantasizing about a trip. So this My Hawaii page, in terms of creating the account, is very important for Hawaii. Because if they have someone register, they can learn a lot about them. They can connect them with their membership organization. So they can connect them with the businesses on the island. And they get a better sense of what helped this user plan their trip. This is our current form. So what we're going to do, I think I hear the Milwaukee police outside. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to deconstruct this. We've kind of, for the sake of time, we kind of have some pre-planned areas that we can optimize. And I'm sure you guys see a few right now. So we're going to look at what are the elements or containers on this page that we can actually optimize. What might impact conversion and the likelihood of someone either going through this experience or saying, yeah, I don't think so. Some of these might be pretty obvious, some of them aren't. The great thing about testing is a very humbling experience. Every time I think I know the answer to something and we get a test result, I'm dead wrong. And we've been doing this for a while. So I think the great thing about testing is you never know until you put it in the wild. So let's start with the form elements. Forms are a very kind of obvious friction point on sites, and I think forms represent areas where it's a trade-off between what does the business need to capture, to provide value and get value, and what's the least amount of information you can collect. And it is a very much trade-off. So on the Go Hawaii site, they have their standard form. It includes first name, last name, address. They do mailings, so they do mail things oftentimes like guidebook planning. So it is actually important at some point for them to collect the address. So our alternative option for this is what if we actually shrunk the form? Kind of obvious, but what we did here is we removed some of the optional fields and created a shorter form. This isn't always better for the business. It isn't always better for conversion, to be honest, but it is one of the things you can test. So starting out with kind of an easy one, but I want to see a show of hands. What we're going to do here is we're actually going to vote on each of these elements, and we're going to keep track of which one wins. And then we're going to, after the session ends, Ryan Summers, who's here somewhere, who's one of our optimization specialists, is actually going to build this test out. So who would like to see the longer form on this site? Who is the brave soul that thinks the longer form? Wow. Okay, who would like to see the shorter form? Okay. I wanted to start off with an easy one. We're going to go with the shorter form. Barb, you can keep track here.
Thank you.
Okay, element 2, right rail. So by right rail, we're talking about what you see there. So they have a vacation planning widget, which allows you to dive deeper into the locations. We've got some other feature content there. We have 2 options for you to consider. And by the way, it's perfectly acceptable to keep the control. Oftentimes the control, which in this case is what you see here, does win and is a better option. Option number 1 is a nice branded element that's easy on the eyes and kind of wraps you up into the spirit of Aloha. Option number 2 is blank. So reducing any noise on the right hand. So let's review those again. We've got some useful widgets. We've got a nice image, and we've got nothing. So who wants to have the widgets on the right? Okay. Who would like the image? Good set of hands. Who wants nothing? Oh no, it's close.
Oh my goodness, that's close.
Do you have a clear winner here?
Well, I think the image has a slightly.
Let's try this one more.
Okay, throw down around, guys.
Just throw down. So if you can go for anyone you want. Image.
Image.
Okay.
Okay.
No image.
I think the image one.
That makes Patrick feel better because he designed it.
Yeah.
All right, element 3, the headline and blurb. So we have option 1, which is create an account. Straightforward, exactly what you might expect after you click on create an account. Very instructive. Option 2, plan your vacation with a free account. So we're actually adding a little bit of benefit-driven messaging. Still have account in there, but it's a little bit longer. Requires someone to read it, and potentially could confuse it. So, how many people want to create an account? Okay. Plan your vacation.
That's a clear
Option
one.
2. We're going to send Hawaii one big invoice for all of this work. But let me know your bill rate. Okay, element 4, column layout. This one's super subjective. So for those of you that have experienced testing different layouts and different options, it is a little bit of a mixed bag. You guys might have experience on your own of which layout works better generally, but here's what we're going to do. We have the form on the left and the images on the right, and we're swapping it. Form, image on the left, form on the right. Okay, how many people want the form on the left? Okay. Form on the right. Think left.
I think that was even.
That was pretty even.
I think we have to do smackdown.
All right, putting the form right down the middle. All right, one more time, and I'm sorry for all the arm raising. Form on the left.
There we go. Let's get some voting. All right.
Form on the right.
Still say left.
All right, Barbie's your
Form
call.
on the left.
No opinion, okay. That's a good point. Sometimes there's no benefit to doing these things. What was that?
You showed it from the left first, I don't know if you screwed it down. It wasn't unbiased.
There you go. We have some bias in our test, so feel free to tweet how bad a moderator I am. It's at Jeff Cram. Okay, last element. This is the feature image. This too is very, could go either way, I think. So we have this beautiful, image, beautiful subjective. We have this image that actually shows you what you get when you log in. So it has kind of some of the locations listed. It has an image of the map with some map pins. As an alternative, we actually created just benefit-driven messaging. So we put bulleted copy down the middle that actually tells someone what they will get if they log on. Who likes the images?
Is there an option for either?
There is not an option for
There
me.
was not an option for none.
And we did not design this page if you don't like it. We're just trying to make it better.
How about an option for both?
We can't do that right now. Okay, do it once more. Who likes the image? All right. Who likes the text?
It's too hard.
Barbie, you're going to have to make a call.
Do it again. Image?
Image?
You don't count.
Okay.
Text. Oh my God.
I think when in doubt, the cat guy
So
should
we
be
do half the
either.
benefits of one image.
Or as we call him, Steve. Okay.
That one's tough, but it's
So what
the text one.
What we're going to do now, and for the sake of the panel, we're actually going to open up a testing tool and configure it all. But Ryan Summers, who is here somewhere, I think, is on our team.
Okay, there he's up in the balcony.
He's up in the cheap seats. So Ryan Summers is actually going to set this test up, and we're going to have it all ready to go. So if we have time at the end, we'll kind of show you how it's set up. But if not, I'll kind of walk you through generally how we do it. Coincidentally, Optimizely is one of our sponsors. So here's what we're going to do. Optimizely is a tool we actually use quite a bit. We don't allow any sponsors here that we don't like and use ourselves. So that's rule one of Delight. But Optimizely, many of you use maybe Google Website Optimizer, Omniture Testing Target. We use quite a few tools. We really like Optimizely, in addition to all the other great tools. But Optimizely actually simplifies the process how quick you can get tests deployed. So what we're going to do after this is we're going to take all the results from this test. We've actually started to mock this up and kind of get the variations lined up. And what Optimizely actually allows you to do is have a WYSIWYG editor. It looks at your front-end code, and you don't actually need any development work. So you just put one line of tracking script on your site, and you can actually move around elements. Ryan actually did this yesterday in terms of swapping those columns. He actually just pulled it up in Optimizely and drug the other column over. And if your CSS and code is good enough, it's easier. And if not, you might have to put a little bit of custom JavaScript in. But you can actually stage tests in minutes. I should also add, oftentimes when we're testing, this isn't necessarily a best practice test. Oftentimes when we're testing an existing test, we like to isolate one element at a time. We thought it would be boring if we just had you vote for one element, so we kind of rolled them all up into a single test. But what Ryan will do is actually go into Optimizely, get all these configurations set up into an A/B test. So we're not doing a multivariate test, which is where we test all these at once. That typically requires a lot of traffic to get to a statistically viable result. What we're going to do is an A/B test. We'll take the control, and then we'll take the winning combinations of all of what you voted for, and we'll create a second test. So it's what we would call an A/B test. So we're going to do that. Unfortunately, this conference is only a day. It's not a week, so we can't actually pull up the live results. But what we're going to commit to after we set this up is sending you some emails after, if you choose to opt into them, of what the results were, so you can have a sense of how this works. In closing, I want to share a piece of delight from our internal team and introduce you to Mr. Algorithm.
So you downloaded the Optimizer. Say that with me now. Optimizer. How do you get from this to this? Well, let me help you with it. First, cut along the dashed line. Next, with the blank side facing up, fold the paper into a triangle by bringing the bottom right corner to the upper left. Firmly increase the paper. Now, unfold the paper. Repeat on the other side by bringing the bottom left corner to the upper right. Now, unfold the paper again. Fold each corner into the exact center of the paper. Flip it over, and then do the same step as earlier by folding each corner into the exact center of the paper again. Now fold the square in half, then unfold it, fold it in half the other way. Now put your thumbs and pointer fingers in the pockets at the bottom, and bring your fingers together so they're touching the paper. So you folded your Optimizer. Let me show you how to use them. Pick a number. 3, 1, 2, 3. Now pick a tab. Campaign landing pages? Let's see what's underneath. Which campaign channel has the lowest conversion? Hopefully not this one.
So in your packets, you have your very own Optimizinator. And ladies and gentlemen, I have a very special announcement. Mr. Algorithm himself is somewhere in the audience. I don't actually know where Alan is. Alan, would you stand up? Alan Tyler is a member of our measurement and optimization team, and if you can't afford Optimizely or don't want to go all in, the Optimizinator is an excellent plan B. So, with that said, thank you, and give a warm round of applause to the panel.